All Black Springboks, folks, this weekend, Rugby World Cup warm-up game. The two Southern Hemisphere powerhouses, if I can call them that, go head-to-head at Twickenham. And they've both picked some pretty big-name players. We're going to be watching this one with both excitement and anguish as every tackle. We just hope that the players get up uninjured because, yeah, man, the Rugby World Cup is edging ever closer. We're going to go through the lineups, some stats, predictions, and you guys can let us know your thoughts on how this one is going to go. Plus, a wee bit of the old recent history, which is pretty recent. You know, we're only going back to 2021. It was interesting in the pre-match press conference with Jacques Nina, but they kind of asked him, how is this going to be playing at a neutral venue? You know, Twickenham, they're not used to that, but they did play at the Rugby Championship back in 2021 in Australia. So it's not that unusual. But as some South African fans pointed out to me, back in 2021, Australia still feels kind of more like an away game when you're playing New Zealand in Australia, given the amount of expat Kiwis that are over there. So, yeah, they have played some games in Australia, one of which was won by New Zealand, one of which was won by South Africa. So those ones were split. Then we've got a split in South Africa in last year's Rugby Championship, and then this year they just played the one game in New Zealand, and New Zealand was the winner, 35 points to 20, not that long ago. So the recent record is 3-2 in favour of the All Blacks, the average score being 27-23 to the All Blacks. But yeah, pretty tight. These two teams have got a relatively good kind of arm wrestling record, which was what we like to see. And South Africa, I mentioned their lineup. The backs, they've made a few, I don't want to say they've mentioned the kind of word experimental in the press conference, certainly in the midfield, but the forward pack's pretty steady, man. Kitshoff, Marx, Malherbe, that's same as their last game, and pretty much the first choice Springbok starting front row, and then Eben, Etzebeth, and Franco Mostert in the locks. Mostert into the locks is a wee bit of a change. He's usually either been kind of loose forward or bench cover, but you know, he played lock for a long time as part of his career, so he's maybe, he's a different player. I was going to say downgrade, but he's a different player from like a Snyman or a Nyakane. He's just a real high work rate player. He maybe doesn't have quite the same skill set of Nyakane or Snyman, just ball in hand, but he's a workhorse, so maybe doesn't get it quite as appreciated as they should by some. Kolisi is back starting at 6. We'll see how many minutes he manages. It was half a game in their last game against Wales, which he was in devastating form. I noticed Van Staden is still there on the bench, so I would expect similar minutes from Kolisi, maybe go 50 this time, or kind of keep it easy. I think the Boks have done a remarkably good job of managing Achia Snyman's minutes back into the game. He was playing from the bench before they gave him a start. So managing those minutes really carefully, I think, is important when a guy's coming back from a long-term injury. Pieter-Steph Toit is alongside Kolisi on the flanks, and he had a great game against Wales. Really high work rate from him. Kind of back to peak Pieter-Steph form, to be honest, with his top tackler for the Boks, scored a try, just very busy. And then Vermeulen is there at number 8, so he trades that spot with Visa. They seem to be trading week in, week out. Faf de Klerk and Manie Libbok's 9-10. As we currently stand, I think that is the starting 9-10 combo for the Boks going into the World Cup proper. We'll see if they can kind of get a bit of chemistry together. And then Esterhuizen and Moodie is not the midfield I think we will see in the Boks first game against Scotland. I feel like it'll be Creel at 13 and it'll be Dale Ender at 12. But they said Canan Moodie in their squad has been genuinely considered covered for 13. And he's played schoolboy rugby at 13. But geez, this is a big ask to be chucked into a test match deep end for your first game at 13. He's quick. He's a big guy. So he's got enough about him. But he's up against Geordie Barrett and Rieko Ioane. So two pretty experienced All Blacks campaigners. And he's got Richie Mo'unga potentially to kind of keep quiet as well. But we will see, man. Certainly, I would love to see a foot race between Rieko and Moodie. That would be fantastic. Wings-wise, Kurtley Arendse comes in, and Mapimpi is back in as well. There seems to be a little bit of talk that Mapimpi might be under a bit of pressure for a spot, because Colby's been playing well, Arendse has been playing well, Moodie's been playing well. So can Mapimpi kind of recapture a bit of his 2019 form as well? I still feel like he hasn't slowed down a lot for a guy, who's past 30. He's one of the older guys in the squad. And then Willemse comes in at fullback for Leroux. Yeah, LaRue's a kind of a difficult guy to replace because you feel like LaRue's got a better kind of link-up skill set than Willemse, but Willemse individually can probably set a bit more magic alight than LaRue. So, yeah, different styles, but both pretty good players. Mbonambi and Nche and Nyakane, those are your bomb squad front row replacements. Kleyn and Snyman, 2 locks on the bench. So I guess they're going to be managing the minutes of these kind of big boys up front alongside Van Staden. And then the 2 backs are Reinach and LaRue. So just the kind of 2 backs from South Africa. But that's something we've kind of gotten a bit used to. They occasionally go with 5-3, but generally 6-2. The All Blacks have interestingly named kind of their first string squad. I was kind of expecting them to ring a few changes, give some minutes to guys who are maybe a bit short of them. But first game against France in a couple of weeks, I guess the All Blacks just want to be ready for that game. And that means playing your strongest team against South Africa. De Groot's back in, Coles is starting, and Lomax is back in. So that's probably the 2 premier locks in New Zealand at the moment. I think Tyro Lomax has been in great scrummaging form. His battle up against Kitshoff is going to be fascinating. And likewise, De Groot, his ascent into the All Blacks has been quick but deserved. Coles is maybe the only question mark about, is he our premier hooker? Probably not. I feel like he's behind Taukei'aho and Taylor in the pecking order, but he's certainly got the most experience of the 3. And then Whitelock and Barrett in the second row. Remember, Retallick is sitting out with injury for a wee bit. So Scotty Barrett comes in to partner Crusaders teammate Sam Whitelock. So Scotty Barrett's been in phenomenal form, man. He's been tackling the house down. And some big carries too. So I don't think we're losing too much with that shift there. Jacobson comes in at 6 because Frizzell has got a few weeks off with injury as well. He's not had that much game time for the All Blacks ever, but especially recently. So, big test for him. Kind of into the deep end, but he's got Sam Cane and Artie Savia alongside him. So 2 very experienced campaigners and, teammate and Sam Cane from Chiefs level. So I think he'll be fine. Jacobson's a good player. And then Aaron Smith, Richie Morgan, 9-10. I feel like if there's one player I don't want to get injured, not that I want anybody to get injured, but for the All Blacks, it's Aaron Smith. Please don't let Aaron Smith get injured. I think the gap between him and our next 9 is probably the biggest between like any other position, first choice, second choice. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, Aaron Smith and Richie continue on 9-10. And the fact that Richie gets another go, remember when they played DMAC at that last Bledisloe Cup game? This is more or less the All Blacks' best starting 15 as Fozzie sees it. Geordie Barrett's back in, Rico Ioane's back in the midfield. As I said, that's their kind of premier midfield. Rico with the gas. And, Geordie's been playing really high work rate stuff as well. He's getting through a heap of tackles on D. Will Jordan shifts from fullback back to this more familiar right wing. Wasn't that sold on him at fullback, weirdly. I've been calling him to play at fullback for ages for the All Blacks, but he probably has played his better rugby. It's only 1 game sample, so it's not that much, but he's been playing well on the right wing, so return to form. Mark Talea is back in on the left, and then Bodie Barrett continues the kind of dual playmaker thing there at fullback. Taukei'aho drops to the bench. Tamaiti Williams drops to the bench. Fletcher Newell drops to the bench. Josh Lord, who's not in the Rugby World Cup squad, is in there as your lock replacement. Remember, no Retallick fit for this one. Tupavai is also there. He can cover lock and loose forward. Dalton Papali'i. So the All Blacks are also going with two backs, 6-2 split. Cam Roygaard and Anton Leonard-Brown. I hope Roygaard gets some decent minutes, but it's going to be an arm wrestle game. The way the teams manage the minutes is going to be very, very interesting to see because, as I said, the World Cup's not that far away. You want to build your combinations. You want these guys razor sharp come round 1 when both these teams start the campaigns with tough games. But also you don't want anybody to get injured. That's just the nature of the beast, isn't it? In their last game, that 35-20 game at Eden Park in the Rugby Championship, obviously the All Blacks came out of the blocks flying. Shannon Frizzell, who was absent for this one, had probably his best game in an All Blacks jersey ever. Busted like 9 tackles in the first half alone. He was on absolute fire. New Zealand were just so much sharper than the Boks early on. But kind of like an arm wrestle, the Boks came back into it. They managed to get themselves some momentum. They scored a couple of tries. Almost looked like making it a game. But then the All Blacks kind of pulled away at the end. So, Yeah, it was an interesting one. The All Blacks had like 10 clean breaks to 3. The Boks conceded 12 penalties to 8. So there were a couple of areas where the Boks early on just weren't sharp enough. And the All Blacks at the end showed that kind of bit of killer instinct to take the game away. But that was at home. This one's a neutral venue, so we'll see. The Boks goal kicking is also a question mark because it was, I think, at 50% in that game at Mount Smart. And it's just not been that sharp in 2023. So I know that's a tough one to practice, to replicate that kind of big stadium pressure vibe. But yeah, if you're a Springbok fan, you would like to see some good goal kicking from South Africa. If you're an All Blacks fan, you would be hoping that their set piece can kind of maintain those high standards that they've been setting so far this year. Predictions-wise, it is the All Blacks by 5, according to the bookies, and the All Blacks by 9, according to the Rugby Forecast algorithm. It's on at 7:30 local time in London. Matt Carley from England is the ref. 6:30 for those of us here in NZ. But yeah, we've got a Super Brew pool for the World Cup as well. If you want to join that, down in the description. Super Brew with the old predictions is always a bit of fun. But yeah, you guys let us know your thoughts. Number 2 in the world against number 3 in the world. All Blacks Springboks. Always a classic. But all we're really hoping for, please, good game of rugby and no injuries. Please, please, please. Anyway, you guys take care. I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.